A campaign is underway to correct the world's most popular map, which supporters say misrepresents Africa's true size. The 16th century Mercator projection, widely used in classrooms and media, makes Africa appear much smaller than it really is, roughly 3 times smaller than its actual size compared to Europe. Last week, the African Union endorsed efforts to replace it with the Equal Earth projection, which accurately shows Africa's massive landmass and population of 1.5 billion people. The African Union is now expected to make an official decision in February 2026. Let's bring into the conversation Fara Ndiaye, Speak Up Africa campaigner and Deputy Executive Director. Thank you so much for joining us, Fara. If you had to summarize, why is it so important, even unconsciously, to have the exact size of Africa in our minds when we see the map?
Well, let me start by saying that maps are not neutral. They were never meant to be. They're among the first tools that children use to understand the world. They shape our unconscious views of who is central versus who's not, who's peripheral. If Africa is shown as smaller than it truly is, Africans may internalize a sense of marginality while others underestimate the continent's significance. So having Africa at its correct scale affirms a sense of pride, of dignity and confidence for us Africans, and forces the rest of the world to recognize the continent's demographic, economic, and geopolitical weight. So with so many projections available, the choice of which one we use definitely matters, and continuing to rely on one that distorts Africa reinforces a false narrative.
Now, the Mercator projection has been around for 400 years. That's a sincerely long time. Why has it taken so long for us to finally get this map that shows Africa at its real size? Is the technology finally available to us, or is it just a question of desire?
Well, there have always been many projections, each created for a very specific purpose. The Mercator projections, for instance, was designed in the 16th century for maritime navigation, not for classrooms or fair representation of continents. So over time, however, it has become the default in education, in media, and eventually in most of the digital platforms as well. So even though it grossly distorts the size of Africa. So the technology to create more accurate projections has existed for decades now, but somehow Mercator persists because it serves historical power structures and also, habits. So what has changed today is really the momentum. Projections like Equal Earth now offer a balance of accuracy and usability, and Africa itself as a continent is also demanding change. But to be clear, we're not pushing for the monopoly of one map. Maybe in the future, other projections will emerge that are even better than Equal Earth. What we're pushing for is fair representation and a move away from distortions that diminish Africa towards maps that simply tell the truth.
And we're just seeing, as you're talking there, the image of Greenland basically being the same size as Africa in those Mercator projections, which is quite phenomenal. When you think that from Dakar to Mogadishu is actually a bigger size than Russia, that is something just to take into account. Now, what would you say to a critic who says that this move is largely symbolic? How would you quantify this in terms of the actual quantifiable successes that seeing a map correctly would bring?
Well, I will tell him that, and I will tell that person that symbols matter. It's really difficult, obviously, to put numbers on imagination, but the impact of distorted maps is very real. When Africa is shown at half its true size, the world unconsciously underestimates its weight, not only economically, but also demographically and geopolitically. So maps shape mental maps, and mental maps influence diplomacy, but also investments, investment decisions, and global priorities. So a continent that looks smaller and small is more easily sidelined in negotiations and seen as less central to global affairs. That's a fact. And yet, Africa is the second largest continent in both land and population. And we're today at the heart of many of the strategic issues, such as climate change, but also energy transitions, to security, all the way to innovation. So choosing a different projection is not a technical detail. It's a political act. And with so many projections available, the fact that the Mercator projection, has remained the dominant one for centuries shows how much this goes. This debate is about so much more than geography.
Just a very quick question, just to finish this off. How are you engaging countries outside of Africa to get this map across? Are you approaching classrooms? Are you approaching major map producers? What's the end game here?
Yeah, great. Thank you for this great question. So for us, success will definitely have several layers. But right now, it's true that we're very focused on creating and sparking that global debate. But for us, in the short term, what we want is for government and the media to adopt different projections. Right now, we're pushing for Equal Earth in their publication. But really, for us, the long-lasting change is really in embedding in education worldwide in all of the school curricula, that we are able to show to children all over the world Africa's as it truly is. So with, again, so many projections available, for us, choosing Equal Earth is a deliberate choice, and we want to balance accuracy with fairly recognizable shapes and really restore the truth. So beyond technical aspects, for us, it's really about shifting the narrative and ensuring that Africa is no longer presented as peripheral, but as vast, central, and indispensable to the future of the planet. So the end game for us is truly that.
Certainly makes me want to get a map like that and put it up in my living room. Just a reminder, Fara Ndiaye, thank you so much for coming to us from Speak Up Africa, certainly speaking up about the real size of the continent.